Hey, Bree Bree. I'm not going to be on here too long. I just finished my walk and I'm just sitting here talking to Spirit, asking them what they wanted me to ask. I mean, what they wanted me to talk about. One thing I know Spirit wants me to talk about is the fact that if we try to do things to other people, meaning like negative spell work, depending upon like what area of that person's life you try to affect, that the consequences of that will start to show in your bloodline. So what happens is like, and also is based on the individual where their abundance lies. So my abundance is in my sacral chakra, and I'm not scared to say that or do things like show my birth chart or anything like that, because my spirit team is like, fuck around, find out. But being that my abundance is in my sacral chakra, if someone tries to come against me and they're trying to affect my abundance, that in turn is going to create a problem for, like, a reproductive problem for the people in the bloodline. So, you know, it may just totally skip over the person who's actually doing the work and then hit their bloodline. And as a spiritualist, like, if you have enough information to do spell work, you should have enough information to understand how spirit works. Because, like, when things happen to people in my family, I immediately go to my spirit team and I'm like, what's going on with this person spiritually and energetically? Because that tells you everything about any kind of dis-ease in the body. And you know, I posted a video talking about my Saturn placement and the fact that my Saturn Saturn was in retrograde when I was born, the day I was born. So my Saturn is not only in the 11th house, but it is also so my Saturn is not only in the 11th house, but it is also retrograde, aka like automatic return to sender. And I'm hesitant to say instant because, like, for the people who are doing the work, um it, like I said, it may be delayed so spirit can continue to test the person to see if they're going to continue to do the work. It could be delayed for multiple reasons. They could want the person to still be operating their gifts or whatever to see if they're going to continue to do this to other people, you know. So, but that automatic return to sender, that means that either like it does not discriminate in your bloodline. It could be you, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be I hate to say it as a child, God forbid. But let me just tell you this. For every man who I was into and passed on me and has children, I mean, when they see the amount of abundance that my life is going to be, they're going to be like, whether they have children or not, they're going to be destroyed. We're not wishing harm on anyone. I just mean like gonna be looking at the situation like I had the opportunity to be with that person and I chose not to. But I was talking to my spirit team and I was like, I feel bad for the children of these people because that's unlimited generational wealth. Unlimited generational wealth. So, by we're talking about clearing your bloodline, for generations to come, everybody's living opulently. But now, like, even at this point, even if those people, like, say we ended up having a business relationship, because for whatever reason, whatever happened at the time, and they chose to be in more of a role of like business versus relationship, there's a ceiling to that now because we're not together. So you had the opportunity to build with somebody from the inside versus the outside, because that is high priestess energy. That is empress energy. Spirit, the only reason why spirit has cloaked that kind of energy for so long is because they needed to be able to weed everybody out. That takes time. Everybody, because you can't have, when you have that kind of calling on your life, you cannot have people attached to you who are secretly jealous, competitive, hoping on your downfall, you know, smiling in your face and, stabbing you in the back. Like all that, you can't have shit like that around you. You can't have inauthenticity around you. I mean, look at the Selena story. Selena, I can't even talk. I can't even talk. My brain is trying to work faster than my mouth. But that whole Selena story was a perfect example of everybody can't go. Because if you bring people around you, and see now, like my spirit team was talking about thinking you have a good friend and them putting you in like a bad spot legally without your consent. So, let's just say someone has celebrity status and they have a bunch of friends. And a bunch of friends come up with this scheme like, yeah, let's get this money, let's launder it through this celebrity's organization and not tell them that this is laundered money. And these people are like your closest friends, meaning like trusted friends. Because if you have whoever is in this tight circle of like business people and, philanthropists or whatever, and you trusting people to be close to your money, this is a very tight knit, trusted group. And this one individual who happens to be the celebrity is a humanitarian, is like just a generally a good person, wants to see the best for people, wants to help people, and their friendship, their trust in these people, and their kindness was taken for complete weakness. And when you take a kind person's kindness for weakness, when you take a pure hearted person's kindness for weakness, the divine is in an uproar. That's what they said. I'm just a messenger. But Spirit said the divine is in a complete uproar. And like, no lie, when I say uproar, like I think about a lion and like, just jungle animals or whatever. Um, I saw this plane. This plane had a like an advertisement trailing behind it, and it said jungle law. So like your spirit team is like, these people is going to think that they got attacked by like wild jungle beasts by the time your spirit team gets done with them. Yes. Yes, they are. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't. I think as a spiritualist and as an ascended master, that's y'all, that's so hard for me to call. It's hard for me to call myself that, but my spirit team is like, get used to calling yourself that, because I know that a lot of people would be like, oh, she's calling herself an ascended master, like, oh, so we on the level of Jesus. Well, I'm just going to tell you that if my spirit team is telling me to call myself an ascended master, then that's what I am. I mean, energy doesn't lie. I have a whole video. I have two videos. It's a two-part video on YouTube of when my energy, I did a scrying reading of my energy on paper. So, I don't have to sit up here and cap for anyone. And I think I kind of lost my train of thought rambling. But, I can't, I think what I was getting ready to say is that I just can't reiterate enough the importance of being a good person, and most of all being an authentic person, and even greater than that, being a pure-hearted person, it's not easy to do in this day and age, and it's also not easy to do when we have people dealing with an immense amount. Um, People are dealing with an immense amount of um, like substance use and just a lot of different things that could potentially um, harm, distort your gifts. Um, but that's not an excuse. So I am going to admit that, like, the things that I did to get where I am right now, I messed it up for the whole world basically, because if I can do it, the whole world is capable of doing it. So if I could do it, if I could put myself through it, there's absolutely no one on this planet that can be like, oh, I'm only human and I can only do but so much work on myself and, blah, 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 making up excuses and shit. I'm telling you that ascended masters do not reincarnate and agree to be dragged through life because they're just here to play with y'all. We're talking about energies who could just be chilling on their throne. I don't know. First of all, I don't know too many energies that would agree to get off of their throne to get dragged by the world. I'm hearing, for God so loved the world. But also, as the saying goes, you can't save the world. You can't save everybody. And that's why, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. In your particular life, everybody can't go. In order for you, in order for so like it's almost like the divine has a checklist. In order for you to close a cycle, you may have like five different tasks to complete. So every time you close a cycle, you have to hit all those points. And you may hit like three, and then it takes you like 4 years to hit that fourth one. But when you hit that fourth one, then you advance to, where you would have been if not for the delay. That's basically what I'm saying. So, Sarah, what else does the collective need to know? This is kind of random, but I'm hearing something about a push gift. So if someone is pregnant and they wanted a particular push gift, I feel like Spirit is saying you will get that gift that you wanted. It feels like a car, but and there's an owl talking over here. I'm wondering if, like, I feel like those are my guides. You know, when you're an old soul, that creates, I want to say, like, the older your soul, the more, I mean, obviously, the older your soul, the more ancient your gifts, but, I feel like Spirit is saying the older your soul, the harder your journey has been or will be, because with the amount of deep rooted wisdom that you possess, you're able to handle you're able to handle tough situations and see it all the way through, like basically passing the test, learning the lessons, moving on, doing differently going forward. So you not only take the test and learn the lesson, but then you actually apply the lesson to your future. Not many people do that. That is an extremely elite group of people, because it takes a tremendous amount of humility to admit where you were wrong, take full accountability for whatever you contributed to a situation, learn the lesson from it, and not do it again, or make every effort to not do it again. And like the ultimate part of that is would be to actually put yourself out there and teach other people how you move and how you operate. Because there is a thin line between, learning a lesson and applying it to the future, and um putting up this barrier that kind of punishes people for your past experiences. You know, there's healthy boundaries and there's unhealthy boundaries. The unhealthy boundaries will cause you to sabotage just about every relationship. I mean, so when I say I learn things from past situations, I now, because I've had interactions with so many different personalities, I now can identify things up front that I tolerated for much longer in other instances. Because like the longer it takes you to learn the lesson, the longer you're gonna have to be back and forth with this person. And if you don't pass the test with this person, spirit's gonna present you another person where you have to like pass that same test. And so that's why people keep attracting narcissists, or people keep attracting toxic relationships, or people keep attracting cheaters or whatever. It's because you have not learned the damn lesson yet. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're just not healed. There are a lot of people out here that are healed. Like nobody's 1,000% healed, but there are people out here who have really been doing the work and they keep attracting these types of relationships. But the reason is that spirit is trying to get you to be able to decipher who you can and cannot allow in your energy, and how long it's going to take you to figure that out. How long is it going to take you to be in a situation and say, oh, nah, I choose me first? Yeah, I love me enough for the both of us, but I'm going to go now. Because the thing is that you can't go into any situation. I don't care if it's romantic, platonic, business. You can't go into any situation expecting to change the other person. So if what they're displaying right now is not something that you vibe with or you can tolerate, then you need to be getting out of the situation now. Stop staying somewhere where you know you don't agree with that person's lifestyle, but you're going to somehow miraculously change this person and alter their free will. Absolutely not. And so many people are out here searching for love relationships, but they have so much childhood trauma built up that they like in their heart they want a loving romantic relationship, but because of their ego and in their head they're like, I don't really want that type of relationship. I just want intimacy without commitment, or I just want to you know date someone and never get married and don't want to live with them, and like all these excuses because they felt rejected by someone. They have abandonment issues. They got mommy issues. So, you know, all women are this, or, low key, a lot of men, I'm only going to speak from the heterosexual side because I'm a heterosexual woman, but there's a lot of men out here, a lot of heterosexual men that are really don't like women. Because if you tell me that you just don't want to be around somebody all the time, you need this space and that space, and you just kind of want the person around at your convenience, like to me that's kind of like an object, like a piece of workout equipment. So you just want me to be sitting in the garage to be there at your convenience whenever you feel like working out. Like, so, AKA, whenever you feel like spending time with me. So my emotions, my, what makes me feel loved and all that shit, like none of that shit really matters. Oh, okay. So like my thing is, unless you're going to like agree to have this super fake marriage or relationship, what's the point? I mean, I don't even know what the point would be to have a fake relationship, but like a lot of people make a lot of different excuses. Like, for instance, the whole a pastor has to be married, a politician has to be married, um, you know, because those images, the public image and things like that, I can't. I really can't with the politics. However, it is a thing. And so, since we have to deal with politics and, all the things that come along with it, I'm just going to have to, learn how to ebb and flow with the situations. Um, Spirit, what else does the collective need to know? I'm hearing something about being dethroned. Spirit, what do you mean by that? I feel like Spirit is talking about that there are people who were supposed to be, like the royal court of the world. And there are people that were supposed to be on that royal court that are being dethroned. And, so I feel like what Spirit is saying is that even though your energy in a vessel is the same energy that is your higher self, because you are in a vessel, and like unless you grew up in this household that was really tuned into spirituality and connecting our energy to universal energy and things like that, um most of us grew up very humanistic lives. And when I say humanistic lives, I mean financial struggle, politics, um, dealing with like family dysfunction, being taught that democracy is real, being taught that you go to school, you get a degree, you get a good job. You know, you go to school, you get a degree, you get a good job, you stay single till you're 30, then you get married, then you have children at 35, two back to back. You know, you go buy a picket or house with a white picket fence. You drive a Lexus. You know, oh shit. Yeah, he's going rather fast through here. And it's only 25 miles per hour. Damn. So, I got distracted and lost my train of thought. But I feel like that whole getting pulled over was very significant because now another police car is pulling up. Um, because Spirit always does stuff like that. And for readers, y'all really need to pay attention to your surroundings. Like I was paying attention to the fact that I was hearing an owl earlier. I don't normally hear owls in this area. Birds, yes, but owls, no. Um, and then the police just pulled somebody over for speeding. I'm hearing whoop whoop. That's the sound of the police. I feel like somebody going to lock up, like spiritual and physical. And so there's this thing. Talking about this because this happened on my walk. So somebody had told me before that when you see a coin on the ground and it's on tails, flip it over onto heads so that whoever comes behind you can pick it up on heads. And so I saw a quarter like that, and I flipped it over on um, heads, and my spirit guides was like, "Who said you can't be the one to go back and pick it up on heads? Now that you've turned it over, like, go back and get it." And I was like, "Yeah," because the thing is, like, and that's doing spell work on yourself, basically. So, you know, finding a coin in general is already like your spirit team's way of letting you know that your prosperity is here. But when it's supposedly like a positive ritual to turn a coin over and then the next person that picks up the coin on heads will be blessed or whatever. Um, is that a bird? They'll be blessed by picking up the coin on heads. You can bless yourself. You can 1000% bless yourself. Oh, yeah, those are birds. I heard wings flapping, and I was like, "Are those birds that flapping around in the tree?" And what I feel like Spirit is saying is that they're going to your spirit team is going to put you in a position to be able to make the decision to cut people out of your life. And I'm gonna give an example of like I think his name is Dwight Howard's wife or whatever. So allegedly, I don't even know if that's her or what she looks like, but allegedly, Dwight Howard's wife got up on social media and was crying and carrying on about she's only been with him for like 18 months and um, she's been struggling with him, I guess because of addiction or whatever. And she was like, she wanted to divorce him, but everybody said, don't divorce him, blah, blah, blah. And so she was like, the police have been called out to the house several times in the past couple of months. And it was because of like whatever Dwight was doing to the children. And I think she said that he has like a son and a daughter. And the son is like 12. And she was saying that she was like contemplating, lying for him, giving him an alibi, standing by her man type shit. But then recently, she caught him trying to get the son to lie about her. And I'm like, oh, so now that's why you're coming out with this. Because before it was, should I stand by my man? But now that she feels like he's putting her on Front Street, now it's like, well, let me CYA or whatever that was supposed to be. Um, that's why it's important to be very slow to get into relationships with people because I know good and damn well that his substance use did not start within the last 18 months. There is a chance that it did, but I can almost guarantee that this chick saw all the writing on the wall before they got married, but what got married anyway. And now that this shit has involved you, I mean, that's just my assessment of the situation. But one thing about the high priestess and empress energy, we're not just marrying somebody for their looks, their status in life, their degrees, their money. I refuse to marry somebody because of superficial reasons. Now, is my man going to need to be fine to me? Yes. Does the intimacy need to be on point? Yes. Do we need to not be struggling financially at the bare minimum? Yes. But I'm by no means going to marry somebody for superficial reasons, especially money, and pretend like this is a loving, endearing marriage. it's very emotionally, physically, mentally draining for me to be inauthentic. So I don't even know how I would be able to hold up the pretend charade to be in a relationship, because I know that I can have it all if I want to. I can have the looks, I can have the healed emperor, I can have the king of pentacles, I can have the 10 of pentacles, I can have the 10 of cups. I can have all of my mental and emotional needs met. Me and my person can simultaneously heal each other's inner children. Because I know I'm already going to have my own empire off of my gifts. So it would be just, building an empire together, a blending of empires. And I don't have to settle for anyone that is not my type. And I say type loosely because I don't really have a type. Like, I know what I want, but, like at one point I just only wanted like super dark skinned men. I'm not on that anymore. The person doesn't have to have like a specific skin tone at this point. But yeah, I can have all of those things. I can have trust, I could have loyalty, I could have honesty. I shouldn't have to pick and choose, because if I embody all of those things, and that doesn't mean the person is perfect or that everything every day is seamless. It just means that our energy is matched. We're equally yoked, is what I'm hearing. That's what being equally yoked means. It doesn't mean, oh, you practice the same religion. It means both of y'all value your spirituality and knowing who you are from a spiritual perspective. You both value doing the work. You both value pouring into each other. You both value like giving the other person what it is that they need, even if that's different from what you need. And I hope I'm not lagging right now, but I can never tell when I'm in this area what the signal's gonna be like. But anywho, spirit is really just like, there are so many opportunities to just say, Spirit team, I really need for you to help me with blah blah blah. And it's just as simple as that. It does not have to be complicated or convoluted or anything like that. We really make this whole spirituality thing way too complicated. It was intended to be very simplistic. I'm hearing very holistic. And it should be unique to who you are as a person. So, like, if you don't vibe well with frequencies, do something else. If you're not really resonating with crystals, okay, do something else. If meditation looks like going for a walk, do that. I'll walk and talk. Like, I was walking earlier and I had my headphones on and I wasn't on live and I wasn't talking to anybody, but I was pretending like I was on the phone. And I pretend like I'm on the phone and I just talk to my higher self and I talk to my spirit guides and I just let them download information into me and I'll, talk about it and talk to them about it. Cause that's how you get the tea. That's how you get your tea. If more people did that, you would never need a reading. If more people actually trusted their gifts, trusted their spirit team and the divine, and really did the work to release trauma, release the pain of, different aspects of life. If more people would really get in tune with their energy and know what their energy felt like, that's how you communicate with your higher self. When you get in tune with your own energy, you read your own energy, that's when you are able to be in direct communication with your higher self. Cause I was telling them today, I was like, wow, information is coming through. Like I had a very vivid dream last night, and then information is coming through today very clearly. And I was just telling my spirit team, I was like, wow, like you must be really trying to like give me information that I'm going to need in my near future because like I know that I'm tapped in at this point. I didn't feel like I was at one point. But sometimes it's still like I still question some things. I'm still like, am I hearing this correctly? You know, because some things they tell me, I just really don't want to believe that it's true, honestly. But, that's why you have to have an awakening, like simultaneously as you integrate fully with your higher self, because the things that you will be able to hear, see, and the type of energy you will be able to hear, see, and the type of energy you'll be able to read is high level consciousness. And everybody doesn't have access to that. And this is for entertainment purposes only, but we're talking about like being able to sit down and meditate, and while you're in meditation, you can astral project into a business meeting and be able to hear like the entire conversation verbatim. And like spirit is comparing it to having a very high level clearance in the military. So like only the people that are granted very, very high level clearance will be privy to that high level information, because you can be just as destructive as you can beneficial with that type of information at your disposal. So you have to truly prove yourself to be trustworthy, a straight up honest person. And I think people forget that the divine sees all. So, like, when the divine sees all, like, they literally see all. You can't hide shady dealings from the divine. You can't hide what you're doing to somebody if it's, being mean, hateful, trying to do spell work or whatever. You can't hide that from the divine. And another big misconception is that people think that they can cloak their energy from the divine. Like, why in the world would the divine ever do that? Allow you to cloak your energy from the divine? It's like, how do you hide from source? But for whatever reason, whether people are dealing with personality disorders, people really convince themselves that they are more powerful than they are. And the reason why I'm hesitant to like put myself out there from a spiritual perspective is because, how do I put this? I think that when people talk about me, so it's almost like I'm more concerned about the well-being of other people, because when people talk about me, it's so much different. Like, it has so much, there's so much of a different impact it has. And this is not me, again, this is not me like sitting here making myself better than anyone else, or being boastful. I'm just speaking from the perspective of many people out here. Like, when you truly, your goal every day is to get up and mind the business that pays you and just be a decent person. And if you work, go to work, come home, you know, it's not to say that you're perfect or you do, but you don't have the time or energy to focus on other people, because you're focused on yourself. You're focused on leveling up. You're focused on doing what it is that you came here to do. You're not in competition with anybody. You're not sitting around here wishing you had somebody else's life. You're not trying to, slow people down, create blockages, be harmful to people because you don't want them to be able to compete with you. You're not doing any of that. When people are doing well, you genuinely celebrate them. You are genuinely happy for them. Because why? Because my time is coming. My time is here. So I should be like, because I want a Range Rover, I should be jealous because somebody else got a Range Rover. Like, how juvenile is that? You know, because the thing is that I know that, like, when you know who you are from a spiritual perspective and you are relying solely on the divine for your abundance, prosperity, financial, overflow, there's no need to compete. When you know who you are, there's no comparison. So why would you compare yourself with somebody? Why would you be jealous of somebody else when there's only you? When you do not have resentment for your past, then you don't have to resent people for living their lives. When you don't have resentment for how your parents treated you and your upbringing and all that stuff, you don't have to be envious of people who have, solid relationships with their parents. You just don't. And it's really a very sad situation to me when somebody destroys their whole legacy over jealousy. Because I look at people that I meet as a potential opportunity to collaborate. And so I observe people from that standpoint, and from there make a decision about whether I'm going to collaborate with this person or not. So like if what we do complements each other and we could work together to build something. But like for instance, if I go live with you and all you doing the whole live is trying to compete with me, no, it's just not gonna work. Because I purposely, like with deliberate intention, stay in my lane when I'm like working with other people, like other spiritualists. If I know this person has a special gifting that I'm not really tapped into, I'm not getting in that lane. Like every now and then I'll get a download about a particular herb or something like that. And so I have an idea of like herbal stuff, but I'm not holding myself out to be somebody who just does blends and teas and things like that. So I will be quick to refer someone to another person that I know of. I'm not one of those people that's like, because I'm a spiritualist or a reader, I also have to like have natural lotions, potions, and teas and tinctures and shit. No, I don't. You can get that elsewhere. Now, one day, am I going to have my own skincare line and all of that? Absolutely. Am I probably going to have like a line of herbal blends and stuff like that? Absolutely. But I'm not we not there yet. That's just like basically that's the merch for the particular person. So like when an artist or an author or something has a merch table, that's so that you can get a piece of that person's creativity in your hand. So I already know that anything that I put my hand on is going to be like supernaturally charged with healing powers. And this is for entertainment purposes only. But this is the type of energy that my collective holds. So when I'm talking about me, I'm essentially talking about the collective as a whole, my collective, not just any collective. So like if your thing is making candles and you sell infused candles and you infuse the candles with your particular energy, and when people get that candle, that shit is supernaturally charged, and all they got to do is light it and speak one prayer over it, and they getting all kinds of checks in the mail, deposits, and whatnot. That's the type of energy that my collective holds. Do you know how much abundance is attached to businesses like that? That's called getting paid to exist. And my phone battery is low, so my phone could cut off at any given moment. But that's what being paid to exist means. Like your gifts, your energy, just anything that has your name on it, that's your brand, it's automatically supernaturally charged with your energy. And so anyone who possesses it now, this is the caveat. If someone buys one of your products and it does not have the effect that it has on other people, that means that the energy was blocked for that person and they were not deserving of the benefit of your abundance. Because, everybody can buy a candle, but it's not going to have the same effect. And so when you have the ability to transform lives, just just with your energy, that is 1000% getting paid to exist. And again, because people are living from their humanness, they can't even conceptualize that that could be a thing. Because it's like, oh, even as a spiritualist, it always boggles my mind when spiritualists are like, I gotta post this many times a day. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. I gotta do that. I gotta do, like, yes, I get that you're building your business, but when you put, there's a difference between doing your part to build your business. So, like, me putting myself out here on these lives is me doing my part to build my business versus not putting myself out there, keeping all of my wisdom to myself, not sharing information with people. Like, when you do your part and you allow the divine to do their part, that takes the competition out of it. Because everybody has a lane, everybody has their own abundance. The abundance of the divine is unlimited, but that's the problem. People don't believe it. And what bugs me out is like spiritualists, like I get it that people don't, like Christians don't believe it, but spiritualists spend a lot of time working in spiritual things, getting to know themselves from a spiritual perspective, figuring out how to use their gifts and maybe teach others how to use their gifts. But then they really still don't genuinely believe that the divine can have an outpouring for them because they're trying to backbite other people in order to work from a fleshly, humanly standpoint. Are you riding the divine's pony or are you riding the world's pony? Pick one. Yes, you have to live in this world. So there's certain things you have to do to deal with this world. But as far as like focusing on anything or anyone other than you and your business and your creativity, that's what I'm talking about. You don't have to do that. All right, well, I'm going to get off of here. Y'all have a good day. I have a decent amount of food to prep today for the week, so if I do not get on later, then I will see y'all later. Bye.